cuts to public education funds, cuts to higher education, cuts to building. I just don't think it's the right time to give funds to private and parochial schools. When you look at national indicators like SAT scores and the NAEP scores, New Hampshire's in the very top. I'm concerned that as the scholarship funds increase, public school funds will decrease, and then the cost of taxpayers will increase, because I don't see any savings for schools. And I think it would be rare enough students would leave so that you would reduce a teacher. I also noticed the section on competition, and I thought about that for a while. I'm not sure how that's going to work, so I look at the top 10 schools in New Hampshire. In all those communities, people choose homeschooling, private school, parochial school, because people like choice, and I think that's very healthy. But I don't think that aspect really has much to do with improving schools through competition. Because I think even when there are excellent schools, still some people make other choices. So I'm just not sure there'll be that kind of side benefit for public schools. Finally, I just don't think it's the right time to send funds to private parochial schools. I think all the resources New Hampshire has should be for public schools and higher education.
I also think there's a lack of accountability in this bill. You're giving money out to people going to these private schools, but what kind of monitoring of these private schools do you have? If there's a for-profit school that arises, do you know if these teachers are certified? Do you know what the curriculum is? Do you know if they're attending to the core standards? What do you know? Do you know if they're doing background checks on people? What will you know about the schools that these scholarship money is going towards? So the way I see it, this is a big transfer of money from money that could be going into the public schools to students who are already going into the private schools. It's just a shift. And it's a shift away from public schools. And I don't see how that creates any more competition. It's just a shift of money from public to private schools. Finally, the language, there's a verb that you're using in here, that you're enticing students away from public schools. Enticing students away from public schools. I'd just like to ask you, should that be the function of state government, to entice students away from public schools? So thank you.
Thank you. Actually, if you could, let me know where you see that language.
It's the next to last page on.
Oh, it's in the fiscal note. Okay.
It's in the fiscal note. Yeah.
Okay, that's not part of the bill. Thank you.
No, I think it's part of the sentiment of the bill.
I'm Joe Inosco. First, two major U.S. Department of Education studies found that public schools perform as well, if not better than private schools, when children's economic backgrounds are factored into the analysis, and that voucher programs do not improve student achievement. Given these findings, why funnel state revenues to private schools that have absolutely none of the oversight and accountability requirements of our public schools? Second, New Hampshire public schools for decades have consistently outperformed all but a few states on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP, our best national metric for student achievement. What is so broken about our public schools that millions of dollars in state revenue should be given to promote religious schools and private secular schools? Third, the tax credit will not create a secular private school option for disadvantaged families or for most middle-class families, as on average they cost $15,700 per year at the elementary level and nearly $25,000 at the middle and high school level. I can't even afford a private religious school, which on average costs a little over $5,000 for elementary and just under $8,000 for middle and high school. In short, the bill does not create choice for the vast majority of New Hampshire parents. I believe the above arguments help explain why New Hampshire voters are more than on a 2-to-1 margin opposed to this tax credit plan. In a statewide poll conducted by the nationally respected UNH Survey Center just 2 months ago, 55% of voters opposed 1607, while only 23% supported it. 22% weren't sure or didn't have an opinion. Most damning was the finding that among self-identified conservative voters, 44% opposed the legislation, while only 37% supported it. HB 1607 seriously undermines the educational efforts of our public school communities to prepare 90% of the children who will one day lead our great state into the future. I strongly urge you to oppose this unfair, anti-democratic legislation. Thank you so much.
So we can bring up all the districts to receive what their adequate education grant dollars are. We should not be derailing any type of money out of any programs to go to any special program.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do not want to spend 5 minutes speaking on this. I will not be asking for additional time. I rise in opposition to this bill for one reason. It raises local property taxes. I support the concept of competition in education. I support the idea of scholarships. But we need to pay for this and not downshift the local property taxpayers. You're going to hear how small the issue is, 0.25%. It's $4,100 of local property tax increases that will have to be paid by our taxpayers for every student who gets one of these scholarships and doesn't attend your school. I don't know what it is for your town, but in my town, we argue about $4,100. That's a lot of money. That's one child. It is impossible for the school districts to decrease expenses just because a student leaves. We all know that we've been suffering from the decline in enrollment. My community's school costs are going up and enrollments are going down, and people scratch their heads and wonder why. Well, we all know why. If there are 20 kids in a classroom and one kid leaves, you can't get rid of the teacher, and the teacher is the major expense. If we want to do this, as I want to do it, then let's make sure we appropriate the money so there's no downshifting. We went through, you know what, in the budget to avoid downshifting. We've made all sorts of sacrifices to avoid that, and now we have a bill that says downshifting is okay so we can get school choice. School choice is good. Downshifting is bad. Vote no, red, on this bill as amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question for the House